Rolling.
Hi, it's May 18th, and we're at Marsian De Lellis' apartment. Koi Pham is on the camera. Mark Simon is here. I'm Cheryl Revkin, and we're doing this for the Silver Lake History Collective. So thank you, Marsian, for having us.
Hi, people of the future.
Okay. Marsian, I've always wanted to know your background. Where were you born? Tell us a little about your family, if you want to.
I was born outside of Boston, and I'm third generation Italian, and I have a mother and father and a sister who's older. I worked on an LGBT rights law when I was in high school. That was like the first student rights law that got passed for anti-discrimination in the country with a Republican governor. Weird.
Wow.
So I had like an early activism moment, like got training in it just by doing it. And then I went to Chicago to the Art Institute to study performance and video and film and photography, and that's where I became, well, I just feel like my whole life's flashing before my eyes.
Yeah,
now.
yeah.
I'll let you talk more.
Okay. Did you come out in high school? Did you identify as gay in high school, or?
As queer. Oh, you want me to look over there? Great. Yeah. Yeah, so I became really involved with this youth group, and it just there was this legislation happening, and it was like the right timing, and I quickly got roped into becoming the outreach coordinator, and then started organizing rallies at the State House, and then a lobby day, and then surprisingly, like, the law got passed because there were a lot of people like making it happen.
Mm-hmm. Was your family supportive of you?
Yeah, like they're kind of private, so they don't like being talked about or like me being on TV or that kind of stuff. So I kind of am trying to like leave them out of it, I guess, so that they can have their fun private life. And yeah, so I don't think they wanted me to like go on Oprah or the NBC News or whatever, but I did. So.
So it sounds like you were politically active and also kind of personally going kind of political in terms of your own life. And what about your creative side?
Yeah, I was always, hi, I'm looking at the camera now. Okay, I was always into art. Like, I was always taking a class. Like, my parents knew to, like, put me in art classes, and I took classes at the Museum of Fine Arts and the Mass College of Art. There was this, like, college-level box art and installation class that I took at Mass Art when I was in high school. I didn't want to be in high school anymore. It wasn't fun, so in the afternoons I did an independent study, like helping organize this law, and then in the evenings sometimes I was in this box art and installation class that had performance, and so yeah.
And did you have a close group of friends who were diverse, would you say? Or?
Yeah, I had, like, there's some people that are no longer with us. My friend Pippin, she went to San Francisco Art Institute and worked with Kathy Acker, and I was kind of jealous. But I think I made the right choice, and because Chicago was really, like, that's where I got into puppetry. I started working with Blair Thomas. He brought in Janie Geyser for a festival in 1999, and that's when I had heard about the program at Cal Arts.
Oh, I see. So that's how you got to California, was Cal Arts and Janie.
Yeah. I mean, I briefly moved through New York, like right around the 9/11 time, and then I lived with my family again. We all moved to Providence. I became an art model for a minute, and then I went to the O'Neill Puppetry Conference and heard that there was going to be a residency at Atlantic Center for the Arts in New Smyrna Beach, and that Janie was like one of the leaders, and so was Paul Zaloom and Theodore Skipetaris. So I worked with Janie and Paul mostly while I was there, and that's when I made the connection to come to Cal Arts for their puppetry program.
I see. And so Janie was teaching at Cal Arts at the time?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Do you want to just explain a little bit about Janie and Paul? Janie was head of the puppetry department at Cal Arts.
Yeah, Janie was the head of the puppetry department at Cal Arts with Susan Simpson, another Silver Lake resident who you've interviewed or will. Or okay.
Yeah.
And so they were running that program. Paul Zaloom and Janie had been working in New York prior to coming to Cal Arts, and Paul Zaloom had this show called Beekman's World, like a children's science show, and I just interviewed him and Mark Simon who's present in the room right now recently, so that'll be coming out. And
for a documentary you're doing.
Yeah.
Great.
Oh, and then Janie and Susan run this place called Automata that is like experimental puppetry and object theater and other ephemeral genres.
And you've been the artist in residence a few times with Automata.
Yeah, like I had my show Object of Her Affection there, that's about a woman, an object sexual, a woman who falls in love with buildings, and it's like about her whole life. Like it starts with her falling off a building that she was in love with, and then she flashes back to her baby's blanket who she trauma bonds with. She loses her virginity to a bad boy hunting rifle. She has a series of relationships with high-profile public monuments, like a controversial wall, a famous statue, a bridge who cheats, tragic twin skyscrapers, and then she settles for Roy, this dumpy tenement, who she falls off of.
Yeah, I felt like when I saw that piece... I was
telling your story.
I felt like when I saw that piece, I thought, so far in your life, that was your masterpiece. And I don't know if you feel the same way.
I hope there's more to come.
Yeah.
We'll see.
At this point in your life, really.
Yeah.
And can you tell us a little bit about how that evolved? That play, really?
Yeah. I started writing it in 2012. Like, I became fascinated with, like, I always searched the internet for fun clips or strange addictions. I saw this woman who was in love with a Ferris wheel, and I just thought, like, that's really queer and beautiful, that this gigantic Ferris wheel or no, it wasn't a Ferris wheel, it was this ride called 1001 Nachts, which means 1001 nights in German. And I was like, wow, that's pretty hardcore. And I saw this documentary. This other woman was in love with a guillotine. Someone was in love with, or was married to the Eiffel Tower until the Park Service got involved, and then it became difficult, and she moved on to the Berlin Wall, I think, or maybe I'm getting those mixed up. So I just thought, like, oh, like, I can just see my own story in that and other people's stories and how relatable.
And so when you saw yourself and other people's stories in that, did you feel like you wanted to elevate those stories so that other people could identify with it and could feel like, it's okay, kind of? What was your main emotion tied into that play?
I just, like, wanted to see, like, her whole life, like, not just the one moment where she has sex with an amusement park ride. Like, I just wanted to see, like, what her whole story was like, and how she got there, and like just to extrapolate on, like, isn't that interesting? How did somebody get to that place, and where are they going?
And you've had, I know, a show at Barnsdale that was part of the COLA grant?
Yeah, that was related to Object of Her Affection. So in Object of Her Affection, the woman gets raised by, well, her mom dies of, like, she becomes, like, paralyzed, and the daughter, like, never really knows her. And so she's raised by her grandmother, and the grandma's a doll hoarder. And so I really liked that character. I just wanted to explore the world more. And so when I got the opportunity to have an exhibit at Barnsdall, I made the grandmother's world, and I started sewing these Raggedy Ann dolls because she was a Raggedy Ann doll hoarder in the play. And it just kept growing and growing, and there were like over 1,000 of them. And then I built like a mountain of dolls that the grandma sits on from the throne of her wingback chair. And I also, like, my performances are very like text heavy and wordy, and I just wanted to do something where we just see the doll breathe, or the puppet breathe, or do like a simple gesture. So that was an opportunity for that, and during that process I discovered all these ways to distress the dolls. Like, I cooked them in the oven here, which probably isn't, like, if I expire early, you know why. I'm not going to be doing that anymore. I have, like, a heat dryer thing for outside. I buried some of them. We ran them over with cars. I brought them to a petting zoo. The goats chewed on them. I splashed them with like Drano. And Mark, do you have a question?
Yes, what happened when you put the dolls in the oven?
Well, like, some of them disintegrated. One of them caught on fire and there was just a head left, and I just loved the burn patterns. There's some over there. I'm not sure if the camera can move. Well, we can show that
We'll
later.
get there.
Okay, yeah. And then the ones that were like submerged in bleach for a really long time, I just loved how disintegrated they became, and how you could see the insides, and how they looked like they had been used and loved, and how, I don't know, we all have like little stuffed animals or dolls or things that we use over and over again, and so it reminded me of that. And then I had an opportunity to show at Track 16, the gallery downtown, and I wanted to show them like a completely different way. Like, I put them in grids on the walls, entombed in glass display cases, and like all sewn together on a panel. So I had that show in 2019, and then I realized, like, oh no, I'll never be able to create this grandmother's like giant mountain of dolls again if I... So, and I also had a lot of helpers, like maybe 80 at different times that year. It was before the pandemic, so like I could have a lot of people over,
Me.
including Cheryl.
One day, right.
Who wanted to go on credit, but I wouldn't let her. And yeah, that was fun, just the community spirit of like quilting bees. I'm so hot. I was just
Yeah,
chill.
yeah, sorry.
Okay, it's all right.
Maybe we could open the door again, because the sound is good. Yeah.
Okay, great. So yeah. Yeah, and it was also just like everything's manufactured now and plasticky and coming from Amazon and mass produced, and so it was also interesting to see like how people's hands in an analog way could mass produce this image of Raggedy Ann like over and over again, and all the mistakes, and those things became interesting to me. Like, I sort of featured the flaws. And so now, like, since the pandemic, I mean, my mom and this other person named Stefano Counts like sewed so many button eyes onto fabric, and I still had some left over. Like, even though I made about 1,200 dolls for the first exhibit, and then I made a few more hundred for the next exhibit, I still had leftover eyes, and I just was like, oh, all these efforts, and I want to do something to honor them, so I'm just going to finish making dolls for them. So I'm currently in the middle of another batch of several hundred, and we'll see where that goes. Like, maybe I'll recreate the Doll Mountain again. I do have a show coming up at El Camino Gallery in Torrance in January, but I think I'm showing some more of the wall dolls there, so that's happening. And then I'm working on a new project called Model Killer, and I got this 4-month residency at Camera Obscura Lab in Santa Monica. They have, it's right on the ocean, and they have like a pinhole in the ceiling or some kind of hole in the ceiling, and it gets projected through glass, and you can see the sunset projected onto the, like a surface, and you can see the outdoor scene.
You created that, the pinhole?
No, that's what the building's called. It's called Camera Obscura,
right.
So it has this one Camera Obscura in it.
But what did you do during your residency?
So I was going there to work on Model Killer, Giant Crimes and Tiny Cover-Ups, but first I started like finishing up some of these dolls, and then while I was there, I got contacted to go to the Chicago Puppet Festival in January, and it just was, I haven't toured in a really long time. I had just been at home for like 2 years, like as everyone else was, and so the whole thing kind of turned into that. Like, I got everything out of storage. I built boxes for all the puppets. Maybe there's like 40 boxes. They helped me with crates for all of the puppets, like how to ship them there. I had never tried shipping that many things. We ended up using a pod.
To move them across country.
I also just wanted to rehearse the show like over and over again, because I had performances at Automata in 2014, like 3 of them for a workshop, and then 3 at Red Cat, like right after that. Like, I had to take the hour-long show and make it 20 minutes, and somehow, like, we edited it, and I relearned it, like, in a week to do it at Red Cat, but then that really, some of the choices we made really tightened it up. And then I premiered it in 2018 at Automata again, but I hadn't touched it in almost 4 years. And so there were like a lot of things to repair, but I also, just knowing going into like a touring thing in a foreign city, I mean, I've lived there, but, you know, not my home city, and during Omicron, when like anything could happen, and anything did happen, like my director couldn't physically come with me because of her job and like their stringent testing requirements, and then my production manager couldn't come because of like roommates getting sick, and so I sort of instinctually knew like I had to learn this show inside out more than I had ever done it before, and I just rehearsed it like hundreds of times. I learned all the sound cues, which was good. Like, I needed to know them, even though I'm on stage. I could like easily communicate that to the sound person. The one thing that I couldn't do or didn't have a grasp on was lights, so that's where we focused on making it happen, was to get like the light cues up and running. And I worked with my director on Zoom, and that was like a whole interesting process to just, I've never been directed through Zoom, so It was really, do you want me to close that?
No,
Or-
no.
Okay, there's a plane coming through as they do in
Yeah.
Silver Lake.
No.
So, yeah, so that was intense.
Mhm.
And I've been kind of like recovering, and I just got a really great review that I was excited about in the Puppetry Journal.
No, I read that.
And I'm finishing up these dolls and trying to move on to the next project and just crack it open again, like a script that I started writing several years ago.
So, you know, Silver Lake and LA is very open to your work. I think it seems to me like it's a comfortable place for you. And is
I
that
wish
true?
we had a venue in Silver Lake, though. That would be so cool if we could have more theaters. I mean, we have a couple, right? We have.
Yeah, we do have a couple.
Mhm.
And there, Automata used to have manual archives. Was that what it was called?
Yeah, I worked with Susan there
Uh-huh.
before.
But I think they lost that. That would be nice. But anyway, my question was, did you feel comfortable in Chicago? Did you feel welcome by a
Oh
community
yeah,
there?
it was wonderful to reconnect with like Blair Thomas, and there was even someone named Taylor Bibat who I met at the O'Neill, and she lives here but also moves back and forth between here and Chicago. It was really great to reconnect with Chicago and their audiences, and they've got a really great festival happening that I just think it's really important that it's furthering the art form of puppetry, and they're doing really good work there.
Do you consider yourself non-binary?
Yeah.
And is there a non-binary community there that
There
welcomed
were
you?
like a
or-
lot of non-binary students that I met that go to the Art Institute now, so that was fun
Great.
to meet them and see like what they're doing graduating in 2023.
And were they interested in you?
Yeah,
What
I
would you
think
think?
so. I wish I had had more time, honestly. Like, I was just trying to get the show to happen, and it wasn't until the last day that I really got a chance to catch my breath and go to the plastic bag store. It was
Oh yeah.
this other artist named Robin, and she's performed here at the Institute of Contemporary Art, where she made like a store full of products made from plastics, from found plastics. So I did get to go to that. I reconnected with my friend Shauna, who I did the AIDS ride with from Minneapolis to Chicago in
Wow.
the late 90s. We rode our bikes 500 miles, so it was nice to see her, and the last night she drove me around to see like how all the neighborhoods had changed or gentrified or like what was left and what wasn't. But then I just had to go home.
You felt like you wanted to go home.
No, I mean like
Oh,
the
you
plane-
had to go home.
Yeah, like
You had to
I
go home.
bought the ticket
Yeah,
and
yeah,
stuff. So, and then I was exhausted, and the next day my neighbor Eric Brightwell, the map maker, like I've been following his activity at Silver Lake Neighborhood Council, and so I would like go to their Zoom meetings to see like what's happening in the neighborhood. And then Dulcie Stein I think she went to graduate school and her seat was opened and someone nominated me, and without thinking about it I said yes. And so then it became like a crash course in like local civic politics.
And you joined or came to the Silver Lake History Collective meeting.
I just
so-
wanted to pop in and what do they do? And it was like,
And
oh
here we
wow,
are.
it's the fastest meeting ever. And
Great.
yeah.
Do you want to tell us about these puppets?
Okay, so this is Vivian Nutt. Like, she's a prototype puppet. She's from a new piece I'm working on called Model Killer, Giant Crimes and Tiny Cover-Ups. It's about a disgruntled it's about a disgruntled model maker, dollhouse maker, turned investigator who makes models of unsolved murders only for it to be revealed that she's in fact a serial killer. So I'm still currently writing that, and sometimes I just make marionettes. Like, even though marionettes isn't my format that I use tabletop puppetry mostly, and then in this piece I'm going to be using a lot of models. Over the pandemic, I did an online workshop at the O'Neill because they couldn't meet in real life, and I worked with Kurt Hunter on building this marionette, and I really appreciated it because I can go there and use their wood shop and build marionettes, but it was just great to learn how to do it all at home with like just the tools that I have. And
so these are kind of new.
This one's, she's new. Yeah, she hasn't been. I did do a couple of workshops of a few of the scenes. This one is Linda Carvel. She's like poorly strung and tangled, and I have to rework her. But it's about it was from the show called Growing Up Linda. And it was about the fictitious heir to the throne of the Carvel Cake ice cream empire, and her working through her troubled past. And then this one was a prototype for Andrea from Object of Her Affection. That one I made at the O'Neill in 2013 with under the mentorship of Jim Rose, whose dad made Howdy Doody, the Howdy Doody puppets, and so he comes from a marionette family, and his mom, Margot Rose, was instrumental in creating the puppetry program at the O'Neill, and he recently passed during the pandemic, and so I started working with Kurt, because Kurt started doing the marionette strand there, the building strand. So even though these weren't in any of the shows, they were kind of like prototypes, just helping me make models of some of the characters or getting like a first visualization of them.
Are they paper mache?
Yeah, this is wood. Oh, and I worked on this with Susan in one of her classes, but I didn't finish, and it's so tangled. But I'm gonna take it apart and put it back together again. She's not behaving.
She doesn't have to be perfect for us.
Yeah. Okay. Great. So yeah, they're wood based, and then there's paper mache over it, and then I use tissue paper mache because I feel like you can get really like detailed.
That's paper.
This is
tissue paper
mache. Yeah.
And the hands you're holding?
These are also paper mache and tissue paper mache. Yeah.
What were they for, the hands?
I was just making them when I first moved here 10 years ago to get inspired and to get going and to... Oh, actually, because I was in... So my director, Michelle Spears, was the director also of Leslie Carrara Rudolph, who was the Queen of
Silver Lake.
The Queen of Silver Lake. And 10 years ago when I first moved to this apartment, I was in Leslie's show, Wake Up You're Weird, and she had a gorilla character or a Sasquatch, and she had me carving hands out of foam. And I just really, during the downtime, and I just really liked it, and then I wanted to make my own, but paper mache is more of my medium, so these are not finished, and they're kind of, sometimes I just make I have body parts up there, I have everything arranged by color over here, my materials, and then sometimes it's easier to make hands ahead of time, or mouths, or eyes, and just have them ready to go. So I'll occasionally use these, some of these became the grandma's hands in the Barnstall show.
Oh, the hands, well, she was in the chair.
Yeah.
I see. So do you look online for materials to use, or do you go to Silver Lake garage sales, or do people give you things they think you would like?
People are constantly giving me things, and I'm constantly organizing them, and so I don't need any blue anymore or green but if people have orange, like I could totally use it.
Okay. Do you have a favorite color?
I love purple, lavender. I love low lighting. I don't know if you can see them, but I love like the LED lavender lights. It's just more comfy on my eyes. Do you have a favorite color?
Yeah, kind of an olive green, I think.
Uh-huh.
Maybe a yellowy olive green. I
Like
think.
that.
A little bit, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Why do you like that color?
I'm interviewing you.
Okay,
Marty.
I'm trying to turn the table.
Yeah, I know. It's okay.
Can I ask another question? You use the term body parts. You said I've got all the body parts over there, and you're always you're always serial killers come into your work again and again. Do you see any connection between your use of these body parts and your fascination with serial killers?
It sounds like you see that.
I do. Well, it just occurred to me hearing you talk, and I wondered if you thought about that.
Well, I guess I'll agree with you.
And what
Sounds
about
like that question answers itself.
and what about doll hoarders?
I just, we live in, I don't know, like, I think there's like a broader, like that show Hoarders is interesting but it also has like a weird narrative that they put on hoarders, like that they always say something happened, like that there was this huge loss in their life and then they had to like keep holding on to things. And I've talked with a real hoarder, and she thinks that that's not true, that that's just like a Hollywood narrative. Like, she says that it's a form of OCD and perfectionism, and that if something's not perfect, she just drops it on the floor. I don't know if that's just for her. But then also, like, in the broader context of how we're living in capitalism and consumerism, people love objects sometimes more than they love people or life itself, or like at the peril of all human life. We love our material things. So there's something to that too, like it's something that's gotten out of bounds maybe, or out of control, and like let's look at that, and what better way to look at it than through art. So, and then I like things too, obviously, but I don't know if I'm a covert hoarder, just because if I can pretend that it's like all organized, then it's like manageable, then it's okay, then it's contained. But maybe, I don't know, like I could have the same amount of things like splattered on the floor too. And
when I was here last, there were things scattered all over the apartment.
Right.
And now it's very different.
Yeah. Well, that was a high production time too, where.
Yeah, you were making 1,000 dolls.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. What do you feel helps you be more creative? Are there a number of things, or?
I do feel like organization does, and then like cleaning helps me be organized, helps me be creative, because it's just like the parts want to be put together themselves, and that I'm more of like a conduit, it feels like sometimes. So sometimes like house cleaning helps me be creative too.
And do you kind of surround yourself with creative people, do you feel? Or?
I would say so, yes.
It seems that way.
Yeah.
How did you actually get to Silver Lake?
I was house sitting in the Los Feliz Hills for 3 years, and then the person like wanted something different, and so that was just over the border, like we're still in the same general area. And then my trainer, like I had to get out fast, and then my trainer from bodybuilder gym lived in this apartment building and said something had opened up, and it was still the original owners that built the house. Like it's a really interesting looking house on the outside, the roof, and I have like a squiggly, I don't know what organ-shaped counter that is, like a liver, I don't know.
Yeah, kidney.
Kidney, yeah,
Kidney.
kidney. It's
Right.
kidney-shaped, okay.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah,
I mean,
and then and it was rent controlled, and I love the area, and so, I mean, unless I'm buying a house or building a house, which, like, we'll see if that can ever happen.
well, that was kind of my next question. I mean, do you have a kind of fantasy future for yourself? Or?
I would love a bigger space where, I mean, I currently have a storage space where all the puppets are. Like, I could never possibly live with them all. Like, it's a whole bedroom size right now. So I would love to live in a space where there could be, like, a real life space, which I don't have that much of right now. Like, I don't have a sofa and a TV, I just have a bedroom. And I would love a place to build stuff. I would love a
Like
separate...
a studio?
Yeah, a place to rehearse things, a place to store things, a place to have an office, and then just, like, regular living area, too.
Yeah.
And an art studio. So I have a lot of multi-purpose needs, I suppose.
And just sort of personally, do you have a, you know, a kind of a desire for something? I mean, would you like ever to have a family, or to be part of a family, or to, you know, do you?
I guess
See
so, but I don't think I
yourself-
can do childbirth right now. I think I'm getting past that. So,
Yeah.
but yeah, no, I mean, that would be, I do like some of my neighbors, like, we're kind of a family here, and then there's all kinds of families that I'm part of that are not necessarily geography based or tight knit, but yeah, that would be, I could see that happening.
Yeah, yeah. I think
If you know of
Silver-
anyone,
Yeah.
let me know.
Okay. Silver Lake kind of provides the potential for
Mhm.
alternative families, you know, chosen families, maybe. I think that's maybe a better word for it. Do you like
Yeah.
children? Do you like children?
Some children, yeah.
And pets?
Yeah, I'm allergic to dogs, but I'm getting shots, and I really love dogs. I just don't know if I'm, like, at a place where I could, like, cuddle one. Maybe I should try it out and see what happens. Cats
always-
are cool.
Yeah, you've always seemed like a very cuddly person to me.
Oh, thanks so much, Cheryl.
No, it's true. I think I first met you at the Automata fundraiser over on Spring Street, I think it was.
On Spring Street. Oh,
Oh,
yeah,
yeah.
because I was auctioning myself off to go on the wax museum, I guess.
What does that mean?
Like, I didn't know what to sell, like, I didn't have something to sell, so I was like, I'll take you to the wax museum, and then, somebody's child, like, purchased it, so we went to the wax museum, which was fun.
Yeah. Yeah, I remember you that night, and someone introduced you, I thought, as Martian, like you were a Martian.
It's true, that's how you pronounce my name.
Martian?
Yeah.
Okay, that's good to know.
I mean, some people say Marchand. I remember you because I, like, shortly after I, like, overdid it in yoga, and I went to go get my back cracked or something.
Right, yeah.
And I just, I remember you had, like, beams, and I was hanging upside down,
It was
ballet beams.
not from a beam, but there was a way to hang upside down in my
Yeah, that
office.
was fun.
Yeah, well, great, yeah. Is there anything, we're kind of near the end, I'd say, and we'd like to maybe have you explain a few things in the room?
Sure.
Should we do that?
Could we? Okay, sure.
Why don't you start with this, Wait for Koi.
All right.
That was great.
Thanks. Are we editing this, or is it all okay? Great. Hi. So these are some of the dolls when they were, like, being made. These dolls were buried and burned, and then this one was buried. You can see a bug crawling across it. That's a quote from John Waters that says, "Life is nothing if you're not obsessed." I love John Waters. Over here we have a book collection, thanks to Mark Simon. I was at a residency at Automata, and they have these doll houses in the basement, and I was feeling nosy, and I opened some boxes, and these books came out, and they were from a doll historian named John Darcy Noble. We have all my tools here. I just got this bandsaw that I haven't used in this apartment, but I got it for the Camera Obscura labs, and
You use it for your wood?
yeah,
Your
I
wood?
mainly use little pieces of wood, like not, I'm not a Susan, like I'm not a carpenter, but
Yeah.
I could be, but I would love to make more marionettes. Over here we've got my fabric wall with all the like little ingredients, and I love having everything contained and organized. Over here I've got some like heads, teeth and eyes, fingers, hands, full dolls, shoes, like just all stuff I can use. Let's go over here into the,
Yeah.
Cheryl's got some dolls that are in progress in her hand.
Here's-
Yeah.
Do you want me to hold the hands?
Sure. Well, over here you can see there's some here's the bedroom where all the action happens. So here's some like images of like final dolls that were at track 16. This one, like this one I really love because it's like falling apart, and it looks like it's been loved, and this one's crying. This was one of the ones that was in the oven where like the whole body burned off and it just, the head remained. There's more decaying ones. I have a lot of books, some of which I've read, some of which I haven't. I love this sequined houndstooth.
And your pants?
Yeah, my pants have sequins.
Okay.
And then over here, we have a room full of ring lights. And
Yeah, usually
oh, here's a shadow puppet of a hypodermic syringe
great, right.
that
That's,
my friend, like I thought of it, but then my friend Marianne, who works at Center Theater Group, really designed and figured out how to make the fluid like go in and out. But
with a holographic
yeah,
material in there,
yeah,
right?
so the
Oh,
stuff
that's
in
so
this
great.
syringe.
Wow.
I love this one. I mean, I did
too.
not come up with like how, but it was cool that she
And what do you
did.
mean by shadow puppet?
Well, it was like there's a screen
scrim?
and then the light shines through this, and so you can see through the material. And then over here,
Wait, and you used that hypodermic syringe in one of your?
that was in Growing Up Linda,
Yeah. Okay.
Then, that's my Bernie Sanders, like, art that I made for a Bernie show. Here are a lot of half-finished dolls that I'm working on. Like, I'm just trying to use up these eyes that my mom and my friend Stefan sewed. So I have, like, this many left, and all these dolls that I'm fixing, sewing, and then out here on my patio are like even more dolls. I mean, most of them are in storage, but I have them sorted by like how far along they are, and
Yeah, you have clothes for them?
yeah.
Are those discarded?
No, those are just, I'm treating them with dirt. Like, I'm in the process of filling that up with dirt. I have some avocado trees that I'm growing from the pits over there. And,
Wow, you started those with
yeah, and the ones in front too. And then some tobacco blew in and is growing. but I don't smoke. And okay,
I
so
think that's
do
about
you have like a final button, Cheryl, that you
No.
wanted to put on
I
this?
just want to give you a hug.
Okay, thanks.
Here, how about this?
All right.
Mwah.
All right, thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you.